welcome to the Highlight Spiel. This is a college football recap show. Come on. Come on. That's what I like to see right here. Right here, baby. Lost a bet. Gotta live up to it.
Cashed in on the bet. Obviously, I cringed having to put this on and wear it, but here I am with it. West Virginia came up short against Virginia Tech. We had the bet. If it went the other way, he'd be in the gold and blue, but as it went, I have to wear this ugly maroon and orange Virginia Tech shirt for this Week 1 college football recap show on the Highlight Spiel. I hate it, but hey, you win some, you lose some, right? I still think it's going to be a good season for Mountaineers.
Go Hokies. Woo-woo!
Let's talk about some of the scores this week around the country in the top 25 polls. The big game was Alabama, Florida State. The big one a lot of people wanted to see Saturday night. Alabama, Florida State looked like they was going to hang with them in the first half. 10-7 at halftime. Second half, Alabama just pulled away.
And it didn't help. Francois got hurt.
The Francois injury, yeah, but they I think they were at it before then anyways. They was up, 17-7 when he was injured, I think.
Speaking of him being hurt, what's that do to your ACC champions?
That opens up that side of the conference. Clemson looked really good. I thought Kelly Bryant would be good, but he impressed me and was even better than I had thought he was going to be. And I think Clemson, has got to be the favorite again to come out of that side. And probably a Clemson and Virginia Tech rematch is a great possibility to see in the ACC title game.
Go Hokies.
So Alabama ended up taking Florida State 24-7. Ohio State, number 2, played Indiana in a Big Ten conference matchup to start the season. Indiana hung with them for a good duration of that game, but about the third quarter, Ohio State finally pulled away.
Mm-hmm.
Had a great game from the running back there, and they pulled away and won 49-21.
And number 4, USC, they played Western Michigan. They won 49-31. Yeah, it wasn't looking too good for them. First half.
Michigan was right there with them as well.
Sam Darnold didn't even have a touchdown. All he had was 2 picks.
Sam Darnold surprisingly struggled in that game
against the Western Michigan defense. That's a low D1 school.
And Sam Darnold's a guy a lot of people thought could be a Heisman dark horse, and didn't look that way in Week 1. I'm sure he'll improve. I think Sam Darnold's a good quarterback, but Week 1 he did struggle a little bit, and hope to see him bounce back.
Then you got number 5 Clemson. They beat Kent State 56-3. Phew. Kelly Bryant really did look good that game.
Yes, he did. Clemson's defense looks like it's even improved from last season, and their defense could be even better this season. Clemson, not a lot of people talking about them. I guess where they lost to Deshaun Watson and stuff, but they're right there, top 5 in the country to start the season again, and they looked great, dominating Kent State. Kent State didn't even have 100 passing yards. I think didn't even have 100 yards
they only
until the third quarter.
1 total completion.
Yeah, that's impressive. And Clemson looks scary again now, especially like we said with the injury.
National champion.
Yeah, with the injury to Francois, they've got to be maybe the favorite in the ACC now.
Yeah.
And then number 6, Penn State, maybe one of the most impressive games as a complete shutout over Akron. Saquon Barkley.
He did his thing.
Looks like the best running back in the country, which a lot of people say he is, and I'd probably agree with that statement fully.
Yeah.
If not one of the best players in the country, maybe the best. Great game from him, and Penn State looked awesome. Number 7, Oklahoma also. They looked really great. How about Baker Mayfield in that one?
Yeah, he only had 1 incompletion, over 329 yards, 3 touchdowns only in the first half.
Yeah, didn't even play in the second half, and they beat UTEP 56-7. Washington, Jake Browning coming back. Rutgers hung with them. Actually, did pretty good. A lot of the Big Ten teams hung with some of these other teams that they played that were ranked, but ended up pulling away at the end as Washington and Jake Browning did, winning 30-14. And then Wisconsin took on Utah State, and they dominated that game. Actually, 59-10.
Sheesh. And then Oklahoma State, number 10, beat Tulsa 59-21.
Great game from Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph is a Heisman contender, and I'd say, they've been hyping him up a lot over there at Oklahoma State for the Heisman. I'd say the hype is real, really. Tulsa's not some of these teams are really low in the totem pole. Tulsa's a decent FBS squad, and they handled them easily, 59-24.
And then you had another big time game between 11 Michigan and number 17 Florida. Michigan winning 33-17.
That's one a lot of people wanted to see. I think Florida fans wanted to see if their offense was improved. And I think to the answer to that question would be yes, absolutely not.
Not at all.
Exactly. No offensive touchdowns from Florida in that game. They did drive down and get a field goal one drive, but the other 2 touchdowns came from pick sixes from Michigan's quarterback Wilton Spate. Michigan kind of struggled on offense. Yeah, Michigan struggled on offense as well in that game, but Michigan's defense, man, are they impressive. I think they were replacing 10 starters. They had a lot of question marks. But I'd say those questions were more than answered in that game. Michigan, two or three forced fumbles. I think.
And then one for a touchdown.
In the end zone that they recovered for a touchdown that really
put the game away.
At the end. And then the defense is always great there under Harbaugh since he's been there, and I think it's going to continue.
And then you got number 12 Auburn. They played Georgia Southern. They won 41-7.
I like Auburn. I do. Jared Stidham taking over there from Baylor. He looked good. They look solid. Gus Malzahn's got them looking good there. And big game coming up this week, Auburn and Clemson. We'll talk about that in our preview show that we're coming out with next. And y'all be on the lookout for that. And then you have number 13 LSU, who actually shut out BYU.
Hey, that's pretty tough.
Very impressive by LSU there to shut out BYU, who's a good team. I think they're projected to win 7 or 8 games this year. So, maybe one of the more impressive wins this week was LSU. Darius Geis, great game on the ground, as you see, and the LSU defense, no joke again, doing their thing.
And then you had number 14 Stanford. They beat the hell out of Rice, 62-7.
Great effort there from Stanford. I believe that was a Thursday night game.
Yeah.
Was it Thursday or Friday night game? And replacing Christian McCaffrey with the running back Love there, and he looked great, 180 yards. And I believe he only played the first half or 3 quarters. In this win, they dominated, put up 60-some points, and Stanford looks like a dangerous team again. And then number 15 Georgia took on Appalachian State. Team a lot of people remember 10 years ago, 2007, they upset Michigan.
In the big house.
Anniversary of that, a lot of talk of that, but Georgia said they wouldn't have any of that.
Nope.
They take them down 31-10. Big story from this game is Georgia's quarterback Jacob Eason going down, and the quarterback Fromm having to come in and take over for him.
He didn't look too bad.
Yeah, it's not a terrible injury. He may be out a week or 2 though, so we'll see how they handle not having him for some time.
And then you have number 16 Louisville. They barely squeaked by Purdue, 35-28.
Right, like I said, a lot of these Big Ten teams had close games. Purdue had one of the very closest with the reigning Heisman winner Lamar Jackson, and Louisville stuck right with him. They pulled it out at the end. Great game from Lamar Jackson in 300 yards passing, 100 yards rushing, and Louisville does get the win 35-28. Then you had number 18 Miami taking on Bethune-Cookman, and they were impressive, 41-13. The running back there, Walton, he had a great game, and Miami looks like a competitor in the ACC there on the other side with Virginia Tech. South Florida took on Stony Brook, and I think it was a little bit closer than they would have liked.
A whole lot
they pulled out the win there, 31-17.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's all it is. First game of the Charlie Strong era, and they get the W, and so see what happens there. Number 20, Kansas State took on Central Arkansas and dominated that game, 55-19. Kansas State looks like they're continuing the Big 12, which is wide open other than the Oklahoma schools, I really think. And quarterback Jesse Ertz, who was a 1,000-yard rusher last year, showed that he may have developed his game even more as he passes for over 300 yards in that game.
And in the big game, why he got the shirt on, big old number 21 Virginia Tech taking on number 22 West Virginia. We got it out. We won 31-24.
Great game, one of the best games of the week in my opinion. They really battled it out back and forth the whole way through. Virginia Tech takes the lead there at the end. 2-minute drive for West Virginia. Will Greer leads them down all the way to the 15-yard line. They had a pass in the end zone. The receiver couldn't hang on to it. And then on 4th down, they couldn't get it done either. Multiple penalties on West Virginia, and the game ends. So game literally came down in the last second. And as a fan of either team, can't ask for a better game than that. It didn't end the way I'd like to, ended the way he'd liked it to. But hey, what can you do? You win some, you lose some, right?
Go Hokies.
And then how about number 23 Texas, a team a lot of people wanted to say, Texas is back. Texas is back.
And they got upset.
Upset by Maryland. 51-41. Maryland led this game by a lot, really. It was Texas ended up coming back towards the end, but then Maryland pulled away.
They played behind all game. I don't think they had the lead at all. Maybe once.
a lot of people, like I said, I think we said in our preview of the Big 12 that Texas was a team that maybe didn't belong in that top 25 and was there just on name only. And I think you've seen that hold true. And just like their coach, Tom Herman, said after the game, if people want to think that we've arrived, they're wrong. It's not going to happen overnight. Just because they got a new coach doesn't magically make them any better. I think they're going to get better. But in the first game, that's exactly what you expect, I think. Playing a good team like Maryland, who's not a bad team, second year under Coach DJ Durkin, and they pull a big win there. And Texas has some things to work on.
And number 24, Washington State beat Montana State 31-0. Mike Leach had that offense looking real good.
Yeah, they've got it going again. Luke Falk, their quarterback, looking great, and big time shutout. What can you say? Washington State's a sleeper team in the Pac-12. A lot of people aren't talking about, and they've got a chance to shock some people.
Yeah, Mike Leach gonna have them right this year, I'm thinking.
And then Tennessee, Butch Jones. A lot of people want to talk on the hot seat. One of the best games of the week, maybe the best game of the week. Double overtime thriller. Tennessee was down to Georgia Tech a lot of the game and came back in a double overtime. They score, and Georgia Tech tries to go for two and go for the win. They stop them, win at 42-41. Great game there by Tennessee, and maybe helping Butch Jones out there. Not getting upset by their team in week one. Having said that, let's talk about some other games that maybe weren't top 25 games, and let's talk about some upsets. What was your upset of the week this week in week one?
Upset of the week will be Howard over UNLV. They won 43-40, but they was 45-point underdogs.
The biggest spread in NCAA history where they got a victory from.
UNLV paid them $600,000 just to play them, and UNLV should be embarrassed getting beat by Howard.
Yeah, that's
Cam Newton's little brother balled though.
Yeah, Cam Newton's little brother, the quarterback there at Howard, and huge win there, absolute shocker.
Well, what about yours?
My upset of the week, I'm gonna have to go with Liberty. Liberty took down Baylor 48-45. Baylor in the first game under new coach Matt Rule after the NCAA problems and Art Briles leaving and having an interim coach last year. Matt Rule takes over this year in his first season. And I think that this loss showed that it's going to be a tough season for Baylor and maybe a few seasons for Baylor, just a tough little era. Great win for Liberty's program, you got to think, though. And hopefully Matt Rule can bounce back and get Baylor, at least back halfway decent, because it looks like they're going to be bottom of the Big 12 this season. How about your team of the week? Who you thought was really a great performer this week and really had, maybe your biggest winner, if you'll say, this week?
I'm going to have to go with UCLA. Granted, they was down 38-10 at halftime, but they won 45-44, meaning they scored 35 points in the second half compared to their 6 points. Texas A&M 6 points. And Josh Rosen probably led the best drive in college you'll probably see this year, fake spiking it for the touchdown win.
Great play and awesome game from Josh Rosen.
A hell of a comeback.
You gotta love the fight in that guy. A lot of people that was down 44-10. Most people just give up. This guy rallied the troops, kept going, and they come back and win that game. Hell of a game.
What about your team of the week?
My team of the week, I'm gonna have to go ahead and say Alabama. They got a huge win against a top 5 opponent. Yeah. Granted, Francois goes down, but before that, I think they already had. I think you could argue they already had the win in the bag. And the second half, Florida came out flat, and they just dominated the second half. Huge win. The running game looked great.
Yes.
Bo Scarborough didn't have very many yards in that game, but he was still a force. And then Damian Harris was the big surprise, 71 yards and a touchdown on only 9 carries. Looked great. Jalen Hurts was just a great game manager in that one. Didn't turn the ball over, mistake-free. Played the way that he needs to play. Just rely on that defense and just do enough to get it done.
Their offensive line was some workhorses.
Right, their offensive line's great, and give it to your big-time playmakers, the Scarboroughs, Damian Harris, and Calvin Ridley, the big-time receiver, who had 82 yards on 7 catches and a touchdown. And I think Alabama's the favorite right now to win it all, and in my opinion, they are for sure. And that's my team of the week in week one. Speaking of week one and teams of the week, let's talk about players of the week. Who are your players of the week for week one this week in college football?
First I got Baker Mayfield. He went 19 or 20, 329 yards, 3 touchdowns in the first half. And then I'm going to give it to Drew Lock, from quarterback from Missouri. He had 521 yards and 7 touchdowns. They also scored 72 points, so he orchestrated a lot of points. And then I'm going to give it to Michigan's defense. They stepped up in the second half. That caused multiple turnovers. Only allowed Florida's offense to 192 yards. They got that key fumble in the end zone. So, touchdown. And then I got Marshall's running back, Keelan Davis. He had 2 kick return touchdowns in the first half, 99 yards and 97 yards.
That's impressive.
And then my boy, quarterback Josh Jackson from Virginia Tech. He had 235 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 101 rushing yards, and touchdown. Played real good under pressure. Didn't turn the ball over not once. And got us the W.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good performance. He was the first freshman starting at Virginia Tech since Michael Vick in 1999. And actually, if you go look at the numbers and compare the 2 games, he actually had a better debut game than Michael Vick had.
Yeah, because Michael Vick didn't barely throw the ball, I don't think.
So that shows a high ceiling. I think Virginia Tech's got to be excited about that guy. They really do.
How about your players of the week? You got some good ones?
My players of the week in week 1, a couple of them similar to yours. Baker Mayfield also for me. Great game, like you said, 3 touchdowns and only 1 incompletion. Only played in the first half, over 300 yards. And I think that shows that Oklahoma may not miss a beat, losing Bob Stoops with Lincoln Riley taking over. Offense looking really impressive there. Drew Lock of Missouri, like you said, 7 touchdowns, 72 points, over 500 yards passing. School record for touchdown passes, school record for yardage. A hell of a game from him there. And then Saquon Barkley from Penn State. 172 yards on only 14 carries, 2 touchdowns. One of them was a 30-yard touchdown run, and then he also broke an 80-yard run in the game. Big-time player, one of the best players in the country there, Saquon Barkley. And then another running back, J.K. Dobbins from Ohio State. Freshman, really put on a show against Indiana. Had 29 carries, 181 yards. Actually broke Maurice Claret's record, if you remember him from back in the day, early 2000s.
Nice little running back.
Broke his record for most yards by a freshman running back in a game. And then Gary Jennings, the wide receiver of West Virginia. Big game from him. 13 catches, 189 yards, and a touchdown that was a 60-yarder. He had a lot of big plays. He was getting by the secondary all night. He actually got missed on a couple of ones that he was open deep, and I think that's big for West Virginia. A team coming in did have a lot of returning as receivers. Him himself last year only had 10 catches on the year, all of last year. And this game he comes out as 13 catches, almost 200 yards. So that shows that West Virginia may have some receivers and be able to compete and score in this Big 12 conference, I think. And that's big for Gary Jennings to come out, and maybe he's going to have a big season for West Virginia, I think. What about your conference of the week? What was your top conference that you thought had the best performance in week 1?
Oh, definitely the Pac-12. They went 11-0. They didn't lose not one game. That conference stacked from head to toe. I mean, they might not have played nobody. Might have been only a couple good games. Might have played a lot of weaker teams. But to go 11-0 on week 1, that's pretty damn good.
I mean, yeah, you can't argue that. And there are some games against other Power 5 conferences like Washington taking on Rutgers, even though there were some other matchups. But USC took on Western Michigan, who's actually a solid team too. So going undefeated, it's a good feat for any conference. I think it's tough to argue that.
What's your team of the week looking like?
My conference of the week.
Conference, sorry.
Yeah, it's awesome. My conference of the week, I'm going to have to go ahead and say Big Ten. The conference, they only come out and they only lose 3 games, actually. And one of them was Indiana losing to fellow conference member Ohio State. So really, if you look at it, there's only 2 losses for the conference, kind of. And that would be Rutgers, who lost to a top 10 team in Washington, and Purdue, who lost to a top 15, top 20 team in Louisville with reigning Heisman winner Lamar Jackson. And like we said, they hung right in that game, only losing by 7 there at the end. And, the top teams in the conference dominated, and Maryland took down number 23 Texas, another ranked win for the conference. And I think the Big Ten's got to be my top conference of the week. Some other storylines from week 1 coming out of week 1. How about the story there at USC? Great story there. You love to hear stuff like this. They actually have a blind player there named Jake Olson who went blind at the age of 12 due to cancer, and they scored a touchdown, and towards when the game was at the end, they had the win in hand, brought him out and let him long snap for the extra point. That's just an awesome story, and really,
heartwarming.
One of them ones that kind of brings a tear to your eye a little bit in your throat. You love to hear stuff like that. And then another one that brings a tear to your eye if you're a Florida State fan, and anyone else maybe, because it's sad to see. No one likes to see injuries, especially top players in the country, top players on the team. And that's what we saw when Florida State quarterback DeAndre Francois went down. And now they'll have James Blackman taking over, and we'll see what he can do. I think that really opens up the ACC maybe.
And it knocked their chances off for the national championship. I don't see them.
I think so too. I thought that they may have had a chance at it as going to the playoffs. Maybe Alabama being the only loss, but with Francois going down, that kind of really changes that up.
Very.
Speaking of Francois, during that game, I think that they had a shot and they showed a close up of Francois in his helmet, and there's a picture of it I think on the internet going around. He looks exactly
like Cam Newton.
Yeah. I can't believe that it's not Cam Newton. It looks like someone photoshopped it. Let's show the picture to everyone here. So I mean, if you guys see,
definitely looks like
definitely
Cam
looks
Newton.
really like just like Cam Newton to me. I don't know. It's just something crazy. I thought that everyone would enjoy, and I thought it was really wild. It's identical. It's crazy. And speaking of going on about injuries, like we said, Jacob Eason went down there at Georgia. And, you hate to see that, but it is good to hear that is not a season anyone like Francois.
Yeah, he'll be back.
And Jake Fromm took over in the rest of that game, and they ended up still getting the win, and he'll take over probably for a game or two, let's hope, and not too long, and that Georgia can still maintain even with Eason out. And then Michigan's defense, we talked about, they dominated against Florida. Really looked great. And another storyline from the game of our two favorite squads, I think that when we talk about is Will Grier, the quarterback that went 6-0 at Florida in the SEC. Got suspended and then transferred, sat out last season, and so this was his first game playing in 2 years, and I think it was a hell of a debut for a guy playing his first game in 2 years. And over
600 and some days.
Yeah, over 600. Over 690 days.
697 days, I think.
Yeah, I mean it's threw for 371 yards on Virginia Tech, who's statistically top 10, top 20 defense in the country last year.
Yeah, 423
and bringing everybody
total.
back. Two of the top corners in the country, one of the top linebackers in Edmonds, and one of the top safeties in the other Edmonds. Another great corner, face on, who's the third corner they rotate in there. Great defense of Virginia Tech, and Will Grier really looked great again. Like I said, 371 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and led a drive there at the end. Looked really clutch. Even had the game-winning throw in there, and the receiver just couldn't hang on to
David Sills.
David Sills couldn't hang on to it.
Even though he had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, good game from Sills though. Like 9 catches, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns. The former quarterback just came back as receiver, looked good. But I think Grier, that was really impressive. He's 5th in the NCAA in total offense after that performance in Week 1, and he leads the Big 12 in total offense actually. So that's the silver lining for the Mountaineers. I think is that they're only going to get better. A lot of those guys first time playing together, and I think they'll be able to score with anybody in this Big 12 conference. Their defense and secondary needs to come along a little bit, but if it does, I think they'll be able to compete with these Oklahoma schools, and they may have a chance in this Big 12, wouldn't you say? Mm-hmm. First ever Big 12 championship game this year. I think the Mountaineers have a good shot at
maybe top 3. Maybe top 3.
Yeah, I'd put them top 3, top 4. I think I'd put them 4th right now.
Yeah.
If I'm ranking the Big 12, I got Oklahoma State first, Oklahoma second, Kansas State, West Virginia, and then TCU. Yeah. And I think that's your top 5 right there, and you can mix up the order 3 to 5, but your top 2, it's kind of 1A and 1B, Oklahoma State, kind of hard to say 1 or 2. And then Kelly Bryant over at Clemson, taking over for Deshaun Watson. A lot of people was questioning what he was going to look like. What do you think about that guy's performance?
He looked real good. It looked like Clemson didn't even miss a beat. Looked just like shoom.
Yeah,
they might have a chance to make it to the playoffs again now. National championship, I don't know. It just depends. They got a couple. Like you said, they play Auburn next week, so maybe that'll be the real test. See where they're at.
Find out a lot too. I was watching, that game on my phone. I was working, but I was watching a little bit of that game on my phone, and one of the announcers, I think he threw a touchdown, and one of the announcers was like, "That's not Deshaun Watson. I thought that was Deshaun Watson out there." That's almost how it looks right now with Kelly Bryant. He's bigger than Deshaun Watson, but I think he may even be faster. I don't know. He's pretty quick out there.
He has some quick legs. He got some long strides.
I don't think Clemson's going to miss a beat offensively and defensively. I think they may be improved. So watch out for Clemson this year, not only in the ACC, but maybe they're going to defend that title and go to the playoff and try and defend that thing.
They're always the best team until they're dethroned.
Right. And then Brian Kelly, a guy that's been talked a lot about being on the hot seat at Notre Dame. They really struggled last year, won 4 games, I believe, went 4-8 it was. Maybe 5-7, one of the two, either way, not getting it done at Notre Dame by any means. But a guy on the hot seat, and he came out and kind of impressed and maybe quieted the haters just for a little bit here. And their run D looks stout and their run game looks stout as they play Temple to a 49-16 win.
Temple there.
Well, Temple's had some good seasons recently. Granted, they've regressed right now and they're kind of down. But that's still, it's a dominated 49-16. So that's a good sign for Notre Dame, I think. And I think with that win, Notre Dame's schedule is kind of weaker, and they have a good chance to start off 6-0 going into that matchup with USC in Week 7. Yeah. So we could see a return for Notre Dame possibly. Who knows? We'll see what happens. If not, Brian Kelly may be on his way out of there, and maybe seeing what happens in Notre Dame. Then you got to talk about, I think, UAB. How about that? That's another great story. They disbanded their football program 2 years ago. Didn't have football for 2 years.
Come back with a
This
dub.
year they finally come back, and the first game in 2 years, and they get the win against Alabama A&M, 38-7. And you gotta love a story like that, and I think that's pretty awesome. And then Stanford, we talked about them dominating 62-7 earlier. There was a lot of question about replacing Christian McCaffrey. And the new running back, Bryce Love, he put on a show there. 180 yards and a touchdown on only 13 carries. Did you like what you see from him?
Yeah, he looks like he's filling Christian McCaffrey's shoes really well.
Yeah, Stanford's another team to watch out for maybe in the whole nation, you think?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
There might be a surprise.
All right, let's wrap up the Week 1 recap show with our Heisman watch here. We'll each give our Heisman watch list coming out of Week 1.
Oh, you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Go ahead and start, my friend.
All right.
Top 5 Heisman watch.
I'm going to have me a little shocker. Number 1, I'm going to have Drew Lock because he was the most impressive. 521 yards, 7 touchdowns. I mean, how is that not the most impressive in Week 1?
That is the most impressive performance in Week 1. If that continues, you got to put
Number 2, I'm going to have Lamar Jackson. He had 378 yards and 2 touchdowns. He squeaked by Purdue. Close game, he got it done, so that's what matters. 3, I'm going to have Baker Mayfield. He only missed 1 pass, 329 yards, 3 touchdowns. You can't go against him. Then 4, I'm going to have Mason Rudolph. 303 yards, 2 touchdowns, or 3 touchdowns, excuse me. And then 5th, Saquon Barkley. 172 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns.
Well, not a bad list at all, my friend.
Drew Lock's the surprise.
We share a lot of the same candidates, just in a different order. My Heisman watch Week 1, I got Saquon Barkley first, the running back for Penn State. I think he's the best running back in the country, and right now I think you can say he's the best player in the country. Right there second, giving him a run for his money, I like Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma. The performance right there is tough to argue with when you have more touchdowns than you do incompletions. 3 touchdowns, 1 incompletion, and 300 yards, and you only play 30 minutes of football. And then Lamar Jackson at Louisville. Yes, they had a close game with Purdue, but it wasn't because of him. He had 378 pass yards, 2 touchdowns, and 107 rushing yards.
Oh, yeah.
And that's great numbers for the defending Heisman winner. I don't know if he'll repeat, but he's up there in my Heisman watch right now at 3rd. 4th, Mason Rudolph at Oklahoma State. Another great quarterback. They really have been Heisman campaigning for him, and I think right now he's up there in your top 5. And then 5th, the guy that engineered the comeback, one of the toughest nails guys. One of the toughest guys in college football, tough as nails. Josh Rosen, UCLA. 491 yards and 4 touchdowns. Hard to argue with those numbers. So he rounds out my Heisman watch and rounds out my top 5 Heisman watch for Week 1.
I didn't battle the list.
So Week 1, a lot of great college football games, a lot of great action. Stay tuned. We got the Week 2 preview show coming soon from the Highlight Spiel. Thank you guys. I can't wait to get off here. Got to get this shirt off. I'm surprised I didn't catch on fire when I threw on these ugly colors.
Y'all make sure y'all share this so everybody can see him in this.
I'm a man of my word. If I lose a bet, I'm going to cash in on it. So
make sure you share it. Everybody around the world needs to see a big time WV fan in this Virginia Tech. Make sure y'all share this.
Hey, hopefully the Mountaineers finish 11-1 for me wearing this. Maybe that's me cashing in my bet's good karma for us. I hope so. But thanks again, guys, for watching the Highlight Spiel's college football recap show for Week 1, and stay tuned for our Week 2 preview show coming soon. I'm Jordan.
I'm Fletch.
This has been the Highlight Spiel brought to you by Trio 4 Productions. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.